All right, never a dull moment. Another day, another massive up and down move for the market. So I wanted to go over basically what happened today that is positive, what happened today that was super annoying, and also just how I'm playing the kind of, I wouldn't call it necessarily a rally from here, who knows, but just how my plan is for the market going forward. If you don't know who I am, I'm Ben Collins. I'm a CFA charter holder and the founder and chief investment officer at Options Autopilot, which is an automated options platform. And I wanted to go over, basically what happened and an update for anyone that's been following along. If you haven't been, definitely subscribe. I'm showing all the losses, all the profits when they come, and kind of how I'm adjusting and playing this. So full transparency here. So, and if you want to find more info on Options Autopilot, feel free to check that out below. So basically, the market was kind of hanging in there for a bit throughout the day, and then started to kind of sell off a little bit towards the middle of the day, and then just saw like a massive, massive rally on Trump's, announcement that he's doing the 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs. And I just kind of wanted to go over. I mean, just looking at this chart is insane, and it's also super annoying, right? Because all the stuff we're getting stopped out of, and basically managing risk gets negated, right? It should have just had no stop losses, but that's not a smart thing to do, as I've proven myself when doing that, not following the plan. So where do we go from here? It's anyone's guess. I mean, we did rip back into probably what's resistance now, where we kind of broke down. But I want to change this to just see if we can do like a 1 hour chart. Is this correct? 5 minutes? Okay. So let's see, when did this happen? So 12:15. Okay. So basically 12:15, I think the news must have hit about the 90-day pause. And here's what's annoying. I'll start out with what's positive, I guess, is I basically did participate in this, but I almost didn't. And that's part of what's annoying. Let me go over how we started the day. So we go to the orders here. So once again, I literally was in a trade for a day and got stopped out like the next day in 2 trades, bonds and crude oil. So I had a 111 on both of those. That went on yesterday as scheduled. And it seemed like a pretty decent spot to put them on. If we look at, this is going to keep the same time frame, but if we basically go back to there we go. If we go back and look at this, so I put it on here. Obviously, it was kind of breaking down a little bit more, and I mean, you have to go. I guess you have to pull up the USO ETF to see that there's kind of support around this area. But basically, it gaps down, and I immediately get stopped out with a pretty big loss. I think it was double my typical loss just because it's not trading overnight, and it just gapped down at the open and ended up closing because it was already at my stop loss. So that was annoying. And then as we can see, obviously once he makes an announcement, it fully reverses. I wouldn't have had that loss. I would actually probably be up. So right there, that's probably a $600 swing in general. Now, unfortunately, bonds is even worse. And the reason that is you can see same type of kind of candle here, massive gap down, and then a rally. So I had put it on basically around here, gaps down, I get stopped out. Actually, let me take it back. I didn't get stopped out initially because I had forgotten to import it into Options Autopilot. I don't pay attention to this. This isn't quite accurate. I need to import some trades that I had to manually do or kind of custom do, and we're working on being able to do it per leg basis. But pretty much that went on yesterday as scheduled. Gaps down. I had forgot to import it, so I didn't get stopped out earlier. And I looked at that and I was like, oh shit, I didn't import that. So I was already down about 380%, and I had my stop loss, I think, at 200% in general. So I basically set it at 400% because, like, well, we're probably kind of towards the end, and I kind of want to give it the ability to maybe rebound if we do rally. And it hung in for a bit, and unfortunately, when the market started to sell off again before the announcement, I, of course, just get stopped out. I want to say, actually, let's see if we can check this. So 12:15 was the rally. Okay, so I basically got stopped out 2 hours ahead of time. You can see with crude oil, I got stopped out at the open. And this is just because I had imported it and put the stop loss on it, I think probably around 9 o'clock or something like that, Central Time. So it was hanging in for a bit, and then they got stopped out. And that, again, super annoying. That was a $800 loss. So right there, that's $1,200 I could have not lost and probably would have ended up with a gain. So I'm not upset about it following the rules, because obviously we saw, if you go back, that when I didn't follow the rules, that's not good. And unfortunately, these types of moves, it almost like makes you feel like you should not have any risk management on and just do no stop losses and just let it go. If you're trading small enough, that's doable, but I still wouldn't recommend it. I would still put in like a 500% stop loss or whatever. You have to keep a positive expected value. So I would never be fully like no stop loss or anything like that from a risk management perspective. So then the rally happens, it rips up, but here's the other annoying thing is that basically I almost didn't participate in the rally. And if that would have happened, I probably would have broken something. And I'm not an aggressive person whatsoever, but it just is so frustrating. And I'm sure other people might have experienced this frustration where it's like you get kind of taken down, you can't do anything, and then you basically have to sit out the rally back up. And that's why I think it's annoying and unfair for what was going on for just the general person. Everyone's like, well, most of the wealth is in blah, 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 and they're in stocks. It's like, well, that's disregarding everybody else's wealth that's technically in stocks. Just because it's a smaller percentage doesn't mean it's not significant to them, and obviously they're trying to build wealth. And this kind of erodes the confidence in the market, and you kind of can give up and just get out, which is why I think automation is very helpful in general long term. But you can see I basically put in, this is a custom trade at 1209. So I put it in there, and I even adjusted it down. Let's actually look. I even had to basically, I think, cancel and adjust it to get filled. So where's my cancel? Maybe not. So I guess it basically was sitting there and then ended up getting filled. But I thought I had replaced it at one point. Oh, here we go. So yeah, I basically canceled it and replaced it and ended up getting filled because the market kind of moved in my favor initially. But had that not happened, literally 6 minutes before that rally happened, I would have missed out and the market would have massively moved away from me. And I put on a pretty decent position. I put on, this is on ES, and it was a custom, I mean, it's not a 111, it's like a 133, and it's more of like I'm basically selling a put credit spread, obviously, but then I'm somewhat hedging it with a long put. So it's like a modified 111 if you want to look at it that way, or a 122 if you're familiar with these. And it was just a way to have it be a bit more risk managed or defined risk on the downside, and then giving me a little like more cushion because I was basically buying I'll show you the custom one. And these didn't execute originally because I didn't have enough buying power available. I had to adjust it. But if I go to here, so I basically have a 1 and then shorting the 3 puts, buying the long puts. So I basically was effectively selling almost naked the 15 delta, but I also bought a 30 delta. And typically my spread is much smaller than that. It's a 30 delta and then a 25, and then just the naked 1 put. So I wanted to go up a little bit in size, just because I thought that this was getting ridiculous and the market was kind of hanging in. VIX was still high at the time, so I was like, it's better to kind of have some of that exposure. And then you can see I set up to run on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So ultimately it'll do another one on Friday. At this point, you can see from my history, I actually closed it in the same day. Like, that's how massive the rally was. I literally hit my original profit target was 65%. I actually moved it to 70, and I was like, well, let's do 80 because I thought it would play out over a much longer period of time. Because at one point I was probably only up like only 40%. So I was like, well, let's just let it play out. And then the market just kept ripping, and it got so much I was like, well, this would be stupid to leave it on. I mean, you kind of are getting a gift here. So I took it off at, I think it was like a 67% profit in a day. But that almost didn't happen. And that's just the annoying thing. And it's also annoying for anyone else who's getting stopped out, because now we're back to, where some of these positions were before the announcement. And it's like, well, why was that even necessary, right? They could have been making money, finishing in the bear trap, and then they just get whipsawed out, and I, myself included in that. Same thing as I closed out a 111 on MES. I still have one on. Actually, it's a 112. I put it on yesterday. As an update, I guess that ES position that was totally new today. I had actually closed out my position yesterday when we kind of rallied, and it was rallying. I was like, okay, I'm going to reduce my exposure, because I at that point thought it was going to get faded and thought it would probably drop again, or at least not keep rallying, which is exactly what happened. That was kind of crazy move. So I felt a bit better there. And so today, when we were kind of still sitting around, VIX is elevated. I was like, okay, let's do another position, and make it consistent, because ultimately the market's digesting this, and the fact that it wasn't down when they were still talking about China was increasing their tariffs and stuff like that. I thought that was potentially a positive sign. People were maybe accumulating some stocks there. Annoyingly, I didn't submit my 401k kind of move to be a bit more aggressive yesterday. I did it, so it would have been this morning, right, that it would have transacted. Unfortunately, I did the next tranche today because I thought we were going to be down a bit more, and then bond yields had gone up so much. I actually allocated more to bonds because I thought it'd be a pretty good time to do that. And unfortunately, a lot of that unwound, and of course the market ripped. So now I only added, I think, 10% to equities, and then 10% to not high yield bonds, but some different bond funds. So I just wanted to kind of get a little bit higher exposure in case the treasuries did come back down. So yields are still up a little bit, still not terrible, but I'm unfortunately not getting the benefit of that at this point. So still have some decent, I guess, cash, and I think I'm about a 50-50 right now. So I'll update on that when I make some moves there. But yeah, that's pretty much it on the day. If anyone was watching and experiencing that, it's pretty nuts. Intel ripped back up even though it was down during the day. Same thing with SOFI, of course. I had taken off my short puts, so now I'm only long the calls, and obviously the volatility probably coming out of the calls makes it so it doesn't participate as much, and it's very far out of the money. So my plan is moving forward. This is looking like it's getting closer to profit target. So if we're up at all tomorrow, I'm assuming that gets closed by the system, and I'm just going to let that go. And then if we for some reason are selling off, I think that'll be, I kind of want that, because I think the market still needs to probably digest some of the stuff that's actually going to happen with the 10% tariffs, but maybe they already did it mostly when it was thought that was going to be the case before. So we'll see what happens. I'm just going to let it run. I have some other automations that are set to run on, let's see, I think Bitcoin ETF is tomorrow. Yeah, that's set up for tomorrow. You can see I turned off. I was going to do just straight up put credit spreads every day, very far down for the foreseeable future as my kind of strategy while VIX is high. But as we can see, and again, this is why it's annoying. It's like you really have such a short time window to take advantage of these moves. It's like, look at that. If you weren't already like short here and then you're getting hurt, right? And you kind of you can't hold on, or maybe you shouldn't hold on from a risk management perspective, but then it just like collapses back. You only have a couple days. It's not like you can really kind of sell. Now, obviously, it's still significantly elevated compared to average in history. So we'll see. I personally kind of hope it comes up a little bit and then we can still get some higher volatility positions on as the market digests this, and this will still kind of trend down. But the way that this is and the way that people are now shorting vol, it just probably will kind of have another big candle down or a couple bigger candles down. So we'll see what happens. That's pretty much the update for now. I'm glad that I could participate in that rally a bit, of course. Gain back some muscle. Oh, I guess we'll go over the losses here, where we're at now. With fees, now we're down 49.36, which is, again, very annoying. I think I calculated it was like 32 or 3,300 of that is just from my manual trades, not from automation. So we're still down a little bit from the automation standpoint. Like I said, still earlier in the year. I think that we can definitely get back and make a profit just by letting them run. But definitely annoying that all the ones that we're trying to have uncorrelated basically just had these massive moves. You get stopped out, so you're not really benefiting from that. You're actually getting hurt on all fronts there. So hope you guys appreciated that. Please subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And like I said, if you want to check out Options Autopilot, check it out down below. And let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to email me. Thanks. And have fun with this volatility. Just remember, stay risk managed and position size correctly, and you'll win out in the long run.